My name is Brian Kuhn, Mayor of Lancaster, Ohio. We are a city that takes great pride in our history, and we have a strong spirit as we invest in our present and build for our future. There are many dedicated people who make the city operate on a daily basis throughout the year. Join me now as we meet these people who help make the city what it is today. Hello everybody, my name is Brian Kuhn. I'm the Mayor of Lancaster, and welcome to Today in Lancaster. Today with me I have Sean Fowler. Sean's been with the city for 17 years, and he's our code enforcement officer. So today we're going to talk, and hopefully you'll learn about code enforcement. So Sean, how long?
I've been called worse. So
I bet you have. Me too. How long has code enforcement been in existence with the city?
Well, Brian, code enforcement actually was, for decades, have been done in different departments. Back in 1999, the city council saw the need to bring that position into a one-stop shop that did everything from the codified ordinances for the city of Lancaster, and at that time they adopted the International Property Maintenance Code, which is a code that is a generalized code used by thousands of different municipalities throughout the country. There's a consortium that makes up the rules and votes on rules and changes every year. In 99 they went ahead and 98 really started the ball rolling. I was finishing up at OU, and so this was actually my first job out of straight from Athens, Ohio, from OU. I was born and raised here in Lancaster, so I was glad and delighted to be working in Lancaster and be the first code enforcement officer. So,
the one and only, right?
Yeah, the one and only. We have some additional help that we got about a year and a half ago. We have a part-time clerical person that helps out and does just a tremendous job of keeping all the notices flowing. And then we also have a part-time 34-year veteran street officer, patrol officer, that he retired and is working with us. So it's kind of myself as full-time and two part-timers, and we 17 years later here I am.
Yeah. So. And I imagine you could probably use, if that full-timer was a part-timer, that would be good as well.
Yeah, definitely. We're getting to the point where we see the need that it's something that's not slowing down. For instance, Monday we had 49 letters went out. That was about 55 notices, because some of the properties had more than one notice that was sent for that property. So it may not sound like a whole lot, but if you consider, try to write down 49 addresses that are in the city limits of Lancaster and go look at them. Try to drive the 49 locations.
Yeah.
All over the city, east, west, north, everywhere, and it really is. That's a huge day. 49 notices in one day.
So Sean, speaking of the 49 notices and driving all over the city, tell the viewers out there, like, kind of what does code enforcement do?
Yeah. Well, like I said, we do anything that's a codified ordinance for the city of Lancaster. So. I know you've seen the book, but literally probably the viewers haven't seen the book. We're talking about a 7-8 inch thick book of everything from dead trees, animal manure, junk autos, living conditions, and then on top of that we have the property maintenance code. So, and that encompasses where we get the high grass and a lot of the property changing type codes for everything from address numbers to paint on your house, to the gutters, to the roof, to the condition of the windows, the condition of the interior, whether it has functional heat, functional bathrooms. So it's actually the property maintenance code is very encompassing, where the codified ordinances are sort of more of things that have evolved over the history of Lancaster. You can even, I think it's been repealed now, but when I first started, there still was a no spitting on the sidewalk ordinance that was from 1915 or something like that. But
So for the viewers, the codified ordinance, that's more Lancaster specific, and
correct.
then the homeowners, I forget the name you called it, but it's more like United States. It's more
Right.
encompassing.
International Code Council used to be BOCA, Building Officials, Code Administrators, and then that evolved into the International Code Council, which is international. So it's code enforcement is kind of, for whatever reason, I think just because it started, it's inherently a larger process in the South. So a lot of what South as not Southern Ohio, but Southern states. So you see a lot of very large code enforcement groups down there, and that's where a lot of them are. It's started to since last 17 years, basically, it started to filter its way north, and has Lancaster was very ahead of the time when they started in '99 doing BOCA or international code stuff.
And I was just going to comment. It seemed like that's really proactive to have something like that. It seems like it to me.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, at the time when we were doing it, there was only literally maybe a very small handful of anybody that was doing that sort of thing of trying to keep a generalized look of the community and trying to help keep things cleaned up, because let's face it, sometimes a property you see a upswing and a downswing for a property in its lifetime. So so for Lancaster to be ahead of the curve at that time was actually a really big step, and even historically over the last 17 years we've had calls from different areas, Nelsonville, some of the other villages around, that have wanted to come see exactly what we're doing, how we're doing it. And
that's great.
Now they have different stuff that they're doing in regards to code enforcement.
And the code enforcement, really, it's pretty reactionary, isn't it?
Yeah, we'd really love to be proactive, but unfortunately, like I said, with the 49, those 49 letters in one day, I wouldn't say none of those, but the majority of those are all just calls that are coming in. Now, this time of year, with it being high grass season, if we drive by a high grass property that we don't have on our list, we'll try to, if we have time, stop, get that into the system, so we don't have to wait on somebody to call on it. But everything else, junk autos, and living conditions and demolition structures, all those other items are just coming in as complaints. So we can't even keep up with what we have coming in that regard with the current manpower structure, let alone be out proactively trying to look at them.
I was going to say, you'd need a team of code enforcement officers to
Well,
to
like
be
I was
proactive.
talking about in the South, a lot of the code enforcement agencies down there are actually truly function just like a police department. They have a headquarters, they have dispatchers. Most of them in the South are even armed because they're wearing uniforms like normal law enforcement, because they're enforcing laws. It's just a little different type.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good lead into my next question about carrying arms. And I know that there's been occasions where Sean's had to go out to a house and tell people maybe they have to leave, something they don't want to hear, but that there's no electricity, no utilities.
Right.
Sean has seen some pretty deplorable living conditions over the 17 years that he's been here, and as far as I know, Sean's handled all those well, because when you go out there, it's like kind of like a police officer showing up at your door. You're going to probably be a little defensive to start with, and the people that Sean's visiting their house, they know why he's there. They've been doing something wrong.
People are never happy to see me.
Yeah.
Unlike Carrie that you had on last time.
Everybody likes Carrie.
Transportation-wise, people do not like to see me. So. Yeah.
And so, tell us, for the listeners, if they're next door to a house where the grass hasn't been mowed for a while, or the gutter's hanging down, or there's a junk auto in their front yard or something, what's the process? Can you take our viewers through the process?
Yeah, sure. So depending on what it is, there's different time frames for depending on what the complaint is.
Okay.
So obviously, if we're asking you to paint your house, we're asking you to tear your house down or redo something, that's going to take a lot longer than it would be if we're telling you to cut your grass, clean up some trash you have around or some tires or something like that. So we get it into the system. We get a first chance to take a look at it, our initial inspection. That way we can go out. We can because unfortunately a lot of times we deal with neighbor disputes.
Yeah. So
we don't take anybody's word. We go out and see what things look like ourselves.
That's great.
So then from that point, either we're at a crossroad there. Either we take action or we find no violation, which does happen sometimes.
Okay.
Somebody may have what somebody deems as a problem may not be an actual legal problem or a code problem. It's just they don't like the way it happens to look. So we'll get the notice violation set, and then from that a notice will get typed up and go out to the owner or the resident, depending on what type of issue it is, who has to resolve that. And then we will set up a reinspection. So there'll be a time frame set. We allow 3 or 4 days for mail to go out.
Is that certified mail, Sean?
The only ones that we send out certified mail are junk autos.
Okay.
Everything else, the code allows for first class service to the best known address.
Okay.
So we've had a lot of time. We use the Fairfield County Auditor site for that best known address. And I found historically some people forget to update that when they move, which I'm not sure how they're getting their tax info to them.
Yeah.
But so we've definitely had some education there of trying to get everybody to keep those addresses up to date, so we have a good address too. But then once we get those sent out, the time frames have expired. Then we go do a reinspection. If the property is cleaned up, we mark it cleaned up, and that's it. We don't. That's something that is a hard time sometimes getting somebody to understand. We don't keep going back and checking it, and mainly it's because we can't. We don't have time, the manpower to do it.
You'd have hundreds and hundreds by the end of the summer.
Right. So we'll go. If it's not in compliance, then we'll either knock on the door or we'll get a phone number and try to make some calls. Because we know the reality that if it gets into a court case, the courts are very busy. It could take an extremely long time. So we'll exhaust all the resources we can, and then if we can't, depending on what the issue is, we'll have a contractor come, clean it up. We'll have a tow company come tow the car, or we'll just take pictures of the situation and forward it to the prosecutor for charges if we've exhausted all their means of trying to get it abated.
Right. Well, I like hearing about the process, and over the years that I've worked with Sean, what he does is a great job for the citizens of Lancaster. And Sean, as we wrap up, is there a phone number that you could give to the viewers so if they have a question or concern about an issue in their neighborhood they can reach out to?
Yeah, they can actually, if you're on the web, you can go to the city's website. There's a safety report. It can be filled out online. The important thing is we need addresses, because the addresses is what actually is inputted in the system. Otherwise, the number at Code Enforcement is 740-652-2699.
Great. Well, Sean, thanks for coming
Thanks
today.
for having me.
And hopefully the viewers out there, you've learned a thing or two about code enforcement. And until we see you again, enjoy your day and be safe. Thank you.